Hi there. This is the video for the first part of the 3-5, section 3-5 notes. So in your student journal, you are going to begin on page 81. So we're starting off with some vocabulary, which I'm going to read through quickly. And what I need you to do is to pause your video and then write this vocabulary in your student journal on page 81. So section 3-5 is all about slope of a line. So the first thing that we're defining is slope. So slope is the rate of change between any 2 points. And then we identify slope with an M. I'll show you that in a minute when we look at the formula. So that's the definition. Rise is up and down. So that's your y-axis. You can kind of think the y-axis up and down, and rise is up and down, and run is right and left. I'll show you a cute little diagram I have for rise and run. So here, up and down and run. See the little girl running to the right? That is your rise and run. You might remember that from when you learned slope in 8th grade. Slope-intercept form, we've talked about that a little bit already. It's y equals mx plus b. That is one way to identify a linear equation. That one is called slope-intercept form, and the m is the slope. Remember in 3-4, we looked at that one, which is standard form. Okay? And then constant function is y equals b or y equals 0x plus b. So this is going to be your horizontal lines that will, here's an example. Y equals 2. We also looked at those in 3-4. So again, pause your video, make sure you have all of this in your notes. Okay, you should have paused the video and gotten that in your notes. If you go down to the page of 81, this is kind of where they introduce the formula for slope. So this is really, really, really important formula. If I were you, I would copy it nice and big down here in the notes section and maybe say, hey, this is slope. So when you're looking through your notes, you can find this formula very quickly. Notice your y's are on top and your x's are on the bottom. That goes along with slope being rise over run. So rise is up down like the y-axis, and run is right left like the x-axis. So that's why our y's are on the top. So these are the y values from 2 coordinate points, and these are the x values from 2 coordinate points. So you need 2 points to find slope every single time. Again, if you need to pause the video and make sure all this is in your notes. So remember, this I am not reteaching this, so you need to make sure you take good notes on this. All right, turn over now to page 82, please. So this top part just kind of describes what different lines look like and how we describe their slope. So when you have a problem that says describe the slope, this is what they are asking. They are asking you to tell whether the line is a positive slope or whether the line has a positive slope, a negative slope, a slope of 0, or a slope undefined. So positive slope, you can see it says the line rises from left to right. So if you start on the left, like you read a book, and you go to the right, the line goes up. Think uphill. Negative slope, if you start on the left, and as you move to the right, it goes down. This is a horizontal line, and the slope, remember we identify slope with an M. The slope is 0. So think of like the floor. The floor is horizontal and you can walk on it, no problem, right? This is a vertical line, and we say the slope is undefined. So over here, I'm going to say, think of the floor. Over here, I'm going to say, think of a wall. You can't walk up a wall, right? That's impossible. So think, oh, this slope is undefined. The floor I can walk on, slope is 0. A wall I cannot walk on, slope is undefined. All right, now I'm going to show you or play a short little video that kind of helps you remember slope.
Welcome to the adventure of Slope Dude. Meet Slope Dude. He loves to ski. We are going to follow him and he'll teach us some important aspects of slope. This is the course he's skiing today. Again, what he says will teach us about slope. You need to remember that Slope Dude always skis toward the right or eastward. When he starts out, he's going uphill. It's hard work. He says puff, puff, positive as he goes up the mountainside. Puff, puff, positive. Puff, puff, positive. Puff, puff, positive. Now he's at the top. It was puff, puff, positive all the way up the mountain. But now he can look forward to the downhill. On the way down the mountain, he says, nice, negative, nice, negative. And now, after the downhill, he's in for the hardest part of the ski run, the long, flat part. He says, this is zero fun. This is zero fun. This is zero fun. This is zero fun. And as he finishes the flat part, he doesn't see well ahead, and all of a sudden, he comes to the edge of a cliff. It's straight down. So frightened is he that he says the worst curse word possible in math and in algebra. Undefined. This has been the Adventure of Slope Dude. Remember always what he said during his ski trip. Up the hill or up the slope, he said, puff, puff, positive. On his downhill run, he said, nice, negative. On the long, flat part of the course, he said, this is zero fun. And finally, when he went over the vertical cliff and went straight down, he yelled the worst curse word of math and algebra, undefined. The uphill is the slope of the positive number, the downhill is the slope of the negative number, the flat part is the slope of 0, and the straight up and down or vertical part is undefined. This has been the Adventure of Slope Dude.
Okay, so hopefully that helped you. I kind of added that to my notes. You again can pause and do the same thing. So you could do two things. You could put it here, puff, puff, positive, nice, nice, negative, zero fun and undefined. Or if you wanted to draw that little diagram in your notes, that will probably help you remember positive, negative, zero, and undefined. And remember, those are how you describe a slope. All right, so now let's figure out how we find a slope. So I want you to turn the page again, and now we are on page 83. All right, so we are going to find the slope of those three lines. All right, the first one, actually we're going to do two things. We're going to describe and find the slope. So this is a vertical line. So our description is slope is undefined. Now we need to practice using the slope formula. So I'm going to go ahead and find the equation, use the formula to find the slope of this line, and then it will also show you why we say it is undefined. So I'm going to, at the top of the page here, and I recommend you do the same thing, write that slope formula. y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. And these are the 2 points that we're going to use. Now, what I want you to do when you're finding slope and you have your 2 points, I want you to write them one on top of the other, just like this. It really helps when you're substituting into this formula. So if we call this our first point and this our second point, we're going to plug into this formula. And on the top, we're going to subtract our y's, y2 minus y1, and x2 minus x1. So if this is point number 2, this is y2. So we're going to do y2, which is negative 4, minus y1, which is 4. So we're going to have -4 minus 4. So if you line them up, you can say, oh, I'm minusing the y's. They're right on top of each other. And then I'm going to do x2 minus x1, which in this case, they're both 3. 3 minus 3. So on the top, I have -4 minus 4. That's -8. On the bottom, I have 3 minus 3. That's 0. Now, put that in your calculator. -8. -8 divided by 0, what do you get? Error, which is undefined. So this is an error. Your calculator will tell you it's an error because we can't divide by 0. That's why the slope of this is undefined. The formula does not work. Now let's try it with this one. This has a positive slope. And let's find the slope. So step 1, write these two coordinate points, one on top of the other. So 3, 4, -1, -4. Now let's substitute into our slope formula. y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Subtract your y's over, subtract your x's. So -4 minus 4, y2 minus y1, all over, big fraction. x2 minus x1, -1 minus 3. Okay, if you need to, put the top and bottom in your calculator. -4 minus 4, -8. -1 minus 3, -4. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So the slope of this line, I'm going to write it right up here, is m equals 2. Slope is going to look just like that, a single number. All right, let's try the next one. First thing we want to notice is this has a negative slope. So there were directions in here that told us describe the slope, then find it. So we need to do two things. So this is my description: positive, puff, puff, positive, nice, nice, negative, undefined. And then to find the slope, I'm using my slope formula. So step 1, take your two coordinate points. I'm going to put them over here this time because I have some room. Write them one on top of the other. I'm telling you, you guys, don't skip this step. This is really going to help you because it's so easy to mix these up when you're minusing the y's and minusing the x's. If you put them on top of each other, it's so much easier. And then all you need to remember is on the top of my fraction, I put my y's. There's my y's all lined up. -2 minus 3 all over. Here's my x's all lined up. 3 minus, this one we got to be careful. We're minusing a -2, so I'm going to do that. We're minusing a -2. You could even put that in parentheses. That would be more proper. So now let's simplify. -2 minus 3. Borrow $2, borrow 3 more, you owe 5. Subtracting a negative, remember this, if we are taking away debt, we're going to turn that into a giant plus. So this is going to become 3 plus 2. Write that step so when you look at your notes, you know how you ended up with a plus here. Keep going. On the top, I have -5. That's a copy job. On the bottom, 3 plus 2 is 5. Keep going. -5 divided by 5 is -1. So the slope of this line is -1. Okay. Nice. Makes sense. Now I want to show you one thing while we're doing this. If I have a graph, I just use the formula to find out this slope was 2. Now pick 2 points on this graph that are right here where the grid intersects. And I'm going to show you when I go from this point to this point, I'm going to rise to go from this point to this point. I go up 2 and over 1. So remember how we said slope is rise over run? If you think about this, I went up 2, so that's my rise, and over 1. That's my run. So rise 2, run 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. And if you look at this one, to go from, say, this point to this point, I went down, so that's negative, down 1 and 1 to the right. I always want to go to the right. If I go down first, that's negative. So instead of rising up, when I rise down, it's negative. So negative 1 is my rise, positive 1 is my run. Negative 1 divided by 1 is negative 1. So that tells me, hey, I did my slope right. Now, oftentimes you're not going to be given a graph, you're just going to be given a table of value or coordinate points. We can still find slope. All we need are 2 points. So I have 4 points here. All I really need are 2 points. So I'm going to probably find slope just using these 2 points. Now, if you think about it, they're already written one over the other, just like I had you do on the problem above. So these are just coordinate points. y2 minus y1 all over x2. Oh, wait a minute. No, we're going to rewrite these. Sorry about that, guys. Rewrite these. The first coordinate point is 1 comma negative 2. I'll tell you what. I'm actually going to use these points. Sorry about all this scribbling out. If you have pencil, erase. Let's use these two. So this is x, this is y. 3 comma negative 2 and 4 comma negative 2. So write them on top of each other like that. xy, 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 xy. Write them over top each other. Now let's plug into our equation. So on the top, I'm going to subtract my y's. On the bottom, I'm going to subtract my x's. Negative 2 minus, it's always a minus. Your formula has a minus in it. So negative 2 minus another negative 2. So this is going to become plus. Those are my y's all over x2 minus x1. 4 minus 3 is going to go on the bottom. Okay, now let's simplify this. I also want to show you, if you didn't remember to turn your two negatives into a positive, if you put this in the calculator, negative 2, so use the negative button, subtract, parenthesis, negative 2, you're going to get 0. Because what it did was it turned this into minusing a negative, it turned it into a plus, so I had negative 2 plus 2 on the top, so that's 0. On the bottom, 4 minus 3 is 1, so I have 0 divided by 1. 0 divided by 1 is 0. If you have 0 on the top, you're always going to get 0 in your fraction. So the slope of this line is m equals 0. Oh, that looks so bad. Sorry about that. Hopefully yours is in pencil and you can erase that. All right, let's try another one. So let's pick 2 points. It doesn't matter which 2 points we pick. We can pick any 2 points. I'll start with this one, negative 3 comma 11. And then how about this one? X is 1, Y is negative 5. So if someone else found slope using these 2 points, they would get the same number I'm going to get finding slope using these 2 points. Okay, write them on top of each other, just like this. Draw your big fraction. y2 minus y1, negative 5 minus 11. All over x2 minus x1, 1 minus negative 3. 1 minus negative 3. Okay, negative 5 minus 11 is going to be, remember, if you're not sure, use your calculator. Negative 16, because you want to get these right. We could even use it here. It's going to end up to be 3 plus 1, so I should get 4, but I'll show you that the calculator does that correctly. 1 minus, parenthesis, negative 3, parenthesis, 4. Negative 16 divided by 4 is -4. So the slope is m equals -4. Okay, just a quick recap, and then you are going to start your practice. So slope is a rate of change. It tells you how much y changes when x also changes. Rise is up, down, run is right, left. This is slope-intercept form for an equation of a line. And remember in 3-4, we looked at standard form. That's when we did graphing using intercepts when we were in standard form. Here's your slope formula. That's the most important part of 3-5, I would say. Make sure you have this in your notes. Make sure you can find it. We are going to always probably do two things: describe the slope and find the slope. So this is a positive slope, always going left to right. Puff, puff, positive. Nice, nice, negative. Zero, fun, and undefined. Puff, puff, positive. Nice, nice, negative. Zero, fun, and undefined. Slope guy. And finding slope when we're given 2 points. So this is the formula we're going to use. If I were you, I would write it on the top of this page. 2 coordinate points, write them on top of each other. And we're going to subtract our y's, divide, subtract our x's. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Over here, we did the same thing. Here's my 2 coordinate points. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Over here, we did the same thing. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Y's on top. Always remember, y's on the top. And then you got to simplify it all the way down. Keep going until you have a number or a simple fraction. But don't stop here. Make sure you do all this arithmetic. And then sometimes you'll be given a table of values, but remember, these are just coordinate points. This is x, this is y, x, y, x, y, x, y. Plug them into your formula. So that is it for the first part of this lesson. And then you will start your assignment for today.